These textual errors have never prevented readers of the book from receiving their own personal witness of its truth. Let me give one other point that I might point out. This just appeared, published this week by Farms. It's a history and the major findings of the Critical Text Project. And I've brought a few here, and they're available out here. Fair is selling. I've only brought a few copies, but they run out. You can get them from Farms next week. But in this, I want to read one other statement. This deals with the changes in the text. The editing of the text, including Joseph Smith's for the 1837 edition, should in nearly all instances be viewed as translating the text into a more standard variety of English. Moreover, in his editing of the text, Joseph acted as a human editor. His 1837 and 1840 revisions do not represent any kind of final authorial intent, since Joseph Smith is, first of all, not the author of the Book of Mormon. Nor is there any evidence that his editorial revisions represent inspired corrections to the text, especially since he left unchanged dozens of substantive errors that the scribes originally made when they copied from the original manuscript to the printer's manuscript. The main point that I'm making is there is only one revealed stage in the transmission of the text, and that's what Joseph Smith received from the Lord. All other transmissions show human transmission, and apparently, as far as we can tell, no intervention from the Lord. My conclusion here, there's been a spiritual dimension also to my work, although my own testimony of the Book of Mormon is not based on this work on the Critical Text Project, but rather on my own personal witness of over 20 years ago that this book records events which really happened. Nonetheless, it has been a delight to have discovered evidence in the original manuscript to support what witnesses said about how Joseph Smith translated. The Book of Mormon is truly a marvelous work and a wonder, and there's considerable textual evidence that it was a word-for-word revelation to Joseph Smith from the Lord. With that, I would like to turn to, I think, one of the most astounding findings of the Critical Text Project. When I first worked on reading the manuscripts, there was always this thrill when you find the occasional error. And you know, textual critics have to prove their value. And the way they do it is by finding errors. But as I studied these errors, I discovered something much more important. And ultimately, I realized that by human means, I wasn't going to find all the errors. 28% of the text is extant. What about the rest of it? And there are even errors in the original manuscript. One of the really surprising things is that in many cases, over 100 I've discovered, the original text was without exception in its phraseology. That over time, we've had occasional errors, one or two in a given phrase, so that the current text has what I call wrinkles in it. They don't prevent you from understanding and reading, but as you look at these phrases, you discover the original was astoundingly systematic. And I wanted to give a few examples of these. In a sense, this is, we have to be grateful for the mistakes people have been making, because these mistakes then allow us to discover how systematic the text originally was. The next 12 or so will just be examples, which I'll go over briefly. In referring to the present time, the Book of Mormon always says this time. It's in the singular. It is never in the plural, even though we say in these times. Original text is 61-0. However, the current text is 60-1. The one mistake in 1 Nephi 10 and 19 as well in this time as in times of old, and as well in times of old as in times to come. Notice the past and the future are in the plural. And because of those occurrences of the plural nearby, the 1830 printer accidentally set the present in the plural. But the Book of Mormon never does this. The next one. The word whatever never occurs in the original text. It's only whatsoever. Or, whatsoever. The original text, 74-0. Current text, 72-2. We have them both, the 1830 printer put in whatever. Once in Jacob, elsewhere in Helaman. These are just accidental errors. Notice he didn't replace all 74. He just accidentally replaced 2. The next one. People in the Book of Mormon do iniquity. They never do iniquities in the plural. The original text, 22-0. Now it's 21-1. Jacob 2 and 35, ye have done greater iniquity than the Lamanites, accidentally changed to the plural by the 1830 printer. The next one, to have hope. The Book of Mormon in the original text has the main verb have followed by the direct object hope. 18-0. There is one occasion where this is actually due to editing by Joseph Smith. He changed it to have hoped. He made the have into what we call an auxiliary verb, the perfect, and he basically made the noun into a verb. He did this in Jacob 5 and 46. He left all the other examples. This is an example of his own editing, showing that he is not the author of the text. He himself did not realize how systematic the original text was. The next one, if it so be that, 38-0, changed in 2 cases to if it be so that, mixing up the order. Occurs in the 1852 and the 1849 editions. The Nephites and the Lamanites, the is always repeated, 15-0. But in the 1830 edition, in one place, the additional the was dropped, so the current text reads, and I saw wars between the Nephites and Lamanites. This is the kind of expression which we might expect. The Book of Mormon only has originally to observe to keep the commandments, never to observe the commandments. 11-0. But in the 1837 edition, the words to keep were accidentally dropped out in one case. To set a mark upon someone, never to set a mark on someone. That's what we really expect in modern day English. 9-0 in the original. It's now 8-1, an 1837 change. Thus ended a period of time. They are all in the past tense. We have 4 places now where it's in the present, thus endeth a period of time. And these are in the accounts in Alma, one in the 1830, 1837 for another one, 2 of them in 1849. It gives a sort of immediate presence in the accounting, but the actual text never does this. In the Book of Mormon, you only meet people. You never meet with people. Meeting with people sounds like a modern-day bureaucratic system. In any event, this one accidentally occurred in the 1830 edition. He met, Alma is traveling, and the sons of Mosiah are coming back from their missionary labors with this difficult problem that their converts are being murdered. In any event, he met the sons of Mosiah on the road. He didn't meet with them. Conditions, never condition. There is no singular condition in the original text. It's always plural, 14-0. We have 2 in the current text, and we will guard them from their enemies by our armies on conditions that they will give us a portion of their substance. This was changed in the 1920 edition. It was a conscious change. It is marked in the committee copy. The other one in the 1830 is an accident. We in English expect the singular. It's actually a tribute to the typesetters that they have kept 12 of them, because it's so unusual in English to have this.